All right, so we're here with the one and only Dan Cardoza of Countryview Collies, doing an interview with us today for the morning coffee interview. So let's just start with the beginning. What is the Countryview story?
Well, my mother started Countryview actually in the 70s. And dogs really disliked me. They'd run the opposite direction, like I was like, the plague or something. And my mom used to have a friend, a doctor friend, I should say, that had a small schnauzer, I guess a miniature schnauzer named Pepper. And she would take the dog and board him for 2 weeks while he was on vacation in Florida. And the dog liked me. And I was like, oh my God, this dog likes me. It likes me. Like Sally Field, And that's when I started trusting that I could love an animal, I guess. And then I started getting involved with the dogs a little bit, cleaning the pens for my mother. Actually, that was a chore of mine, clean the pen, change the water, or I didn't get any allowance. And that's when it kind of started. I mean, it started back in '74 when my mother started, but she just did local shows. I don't think she even ventured out of Connecticut. I mean, New York was the ends of the earth for her. And that's how we started. I'm sure people know, from different articles that I started in junior handling. My sister used to, compete in Aconius back then, actually with Karen Jordan back in the day. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to try this myself. So I went to an all-breed show, and I actually apprenticed with an all-breed handler who showed, what was it, Danes and Welsh Corgis, actually. Al Kirby was his name. He's now passed. But and I went to all-breed shows. I won a huge class in an all-breed show, but it was easy for a collie person back then because the dog, she just stood there foursquare, never moved a foot. So I didn't have to really do anything but stand there and show. And that's how I got into it, really, the story of Countryview. And then everyone knows kind of the rest, or they will know the rest of this interview.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. I didn't know that. So where did the name Countryview come from, or what was the inspiration for that?
My mother and father used to go for rides down in Westport, where I'm living now, actually. And there was, driving down the road, she saw this milk truck that said Countryview Dairy. And she goes, I really like that name. So that's how she chose it.
I like it. Yeah, another very interesting thing I didn't know. So our next question is, who were your mentors, and what collie breeder do you or did you most admire?
Well, probably first was my mother, because she was in Collies. And I always admired Jan Wanamaker of Candray. She had these beautiful silvery blues, and I was always drawn to the high view dogs because of that gorgeous color. You don't really see much of it anymore, but it was quite attractive. That's kind of the beginning of it. And then, of course, I got involved with Pam and Lou Durazano with Star. And then I kind of apprenticed with Steve Barger on some of the all-breed circuits back then. So I learned how to groom, which Steve was like a master at anything he touched. Steve was just great. Did beautiful head trims and learned how to do feet, and especially hawks. Steve did wonderful hawks.
For my mom learned hawks too.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I started. And then along the way, I think the breed itself was my mentor. I sat there and looked at dogs, and I knew what I didn't like. I knew what I did like. But I was more into Candray because Jan was a big name back then. Candray was a big kennel. It was like your jaw just dropped when you got there. She just had, it was like the Mall of America, really. She just had rows and rows of beautiful blue dogs and bitches. And of course, she had the Kazons too up there. And yeah, it's kind of how I started.
Yeah. What would be your advice to your younger self before you reached, many of your accomplishments?
So I would talk to myself. That's a hard question because I don't regret anything I ever did. I think anything we go through in life has made or set the foundation for who we are today. Would I change anything? Probably not. Back then I was a pretty shy kid. Now I'm a big mouth. But I was a shy kid. I just sat at the shows and kept my trap shut and listened and watched people show dogs. And I guess I wouldn't change anything. I mean, people weren't very nice back then. I mean, they were pretty cruel to me, some of the people and dogs, and they know who they are. And I think I would have told myself, don't listen to them. They just want to make fun of you. And that's probably all I would have changed or try to mentor myself, I guess. Mm-hmm.
That's great. You've been in the breed for almost 4 decades now. What would your advice be to someone new in the breed?
Well, obviously it was very different when I first started. To get out of a class of 26 dogs was like the greatest thing in the world, really. Now 26 dogs is the whole entry. It was very hard to win back then, and when you did, you really appreciated the win. Even I remember looking at the old cues, the collie cues in review, and everyone was really proud of getting a major reserve a lot. Now it's like, please, a major reserve, like 4 dogs there, you know what I mean? So I really think that it's easier to win today. It was hard back then. The question was, would get advice, right? Is that the question you were in? Okay, apologize. Advice. I think look for a dog, or look for a kennel that you like. Go to shows. Don't be cocky. Text people or email people with respect. Not, hey, do you have any puppies available? That just irks the crap out of me. And I actually sent him back, I think what you meant to say was, because I think it's a smack in your face for what you achieved in life. I would say be respectful, like we just talked about. Look at kennels that you like. Sit, trap shut, ears open, like a lot of people have said in the past. And just watch them carefully. Don't like stalk them, but go to dog shows and watch them. Join a collie club. You can meet a lot of nice people at collie clubs who have, they'll have kennels to look at, and maybe go to a couple of matches and maybe acquire a puppy. Hopefully find a person who will actually mentor you, not just take your money and slam the door in your face. Mm-hmm. I guess study people, listen to how they interact with people, and then you'll know, you'll find a good egg to work with.
Yeah, this wasn't a question on there, but do you think that's been a little bit lost? That's that way of going about it?
I think now, they always say give back to the breed. I got my license because I wanted to give back to the breed. Why don't you give back to the breed and mentor somebody? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Giving back to just going into the ring and showing a dog doesn't do much for the breed. What helps the breed is actually taking someone and molding them into something great. But people back then, they used to take the brunt of people. Nowadays, no one takes crap from anybody. You know, back then you were respectful. I don't think there's much respect anymore. You know, I've heard stories from Judy and Barbara Schwartz about Edith Levine. You know, she was very stern. And I always wondered, would she survive today as a mentor with the mentality of people? They wouldn't take it. You know, I think you learn more from someone you're scared of than to, you know, all of a sudden you're at their level. I remember Les, and I love Les, and I miss Les terribly. She said to me one day about mentors, she said that Mrs. Long told her, don't teach them too much because pretty soon they'll think they know more than you. You know, hopefully that wouldn't be true, but sometimes it is when you're really open with people. And I think they win too quick. There's more shows, there's less of quality entry, so it's quite easily to walk in and win, you know, and they immediately get an ego. You know, they don't know how it was to just, you know, fall into a hole and kind of try to get out of a hole. I mean, you get out of a class of 26. They don't know how it was back then. It's come too easy, and maybe that's why we don't want to offer all our advice, because they don't really respect it.
Yeah.
So did I answer the question? I don't know if I did or not.
Yes. Great answer. Let's see here. Any tips you have for selecting puppies?
I look for little adults. That's all I do. I'll trim them back, because if I want to look, you know, I don't go like this. It's just like, oh, give me a break. You know, I look at it. If I like something, I'm drawn to the face, because face is always paramount to me. Expression, expression, expression. Once I'm drawn to something, you know, something, and then I say, okay, now I want to touch it. I don't want to touch anything I'm not drawn to. It's useless. It's just, it's like a nobody in my kennel. I have to love everything looking at. You know, I like to look at puppies move. I like how they stand. I want them to walk like a lion. I've had some beautiful things. I go, you're out of here. It's like walking on little, do you ever see those guys in the circus, and they walk on two little sticks? They have big hats on there in the circus.
Yeah.
If they walk like they're tiptoeing, they're gone. Their front isn't good enough for me. I want them to walk like a lion. They have a kind of a cocky, you know, I'm pretty hot type of walk when they walk around. And that's what I look for. I can't stand anything that walks like they're on tippy toes. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
And I want style. And I want crest of neck. I want the puppy to already have a proud picture. I don't want it created. I want them to be who they are. You know, I want them to show. If they don't show, bye, deadbeat, get out. They have to show. You know, a dog that's a proud dog, you know, now they're proud outside in the grass, which is nice, but they need to be proud in the ring too. The judges are judging on the standard, presenting a proud picture, so they must have that characteristic. You know, I want a light head coming towards you. I don't want eyes over here. That is bye-bye. You know, I'll give on a rear, because puppies can be all over the place, you know, and it's basically kind of looking for a miniature adult. Plus, you need to know your line too. Mm-hmm. You know, some of them may not have the extension of head. You know, as soon as that, you know, they get 4 months, all of a sudden the head pulls out. I mean, Nancy McDonald gave me some really good advice. Like I said, the Collie world is my mentor, not just one person. Nancy gave me good advice. She says, I don't look at my puppies' heads until they're 4 months old. And I started doing it. I said, you know what? she has it going on, because it's true. Their heads are like little adult heads. I know in my family at 4 months old, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose after that. Higher the eyes, and But like I said, listen to I'm still learning. I may be teaching, but always room for improvement.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've used a lot of young outcross dogs that weren't well known at the time instead of, the big winner of the day. Do you think the popular dog syndrome hurts or helps the breed?
Well, it depends who the dog is. If it's a good, great new dog, more power to you. I've never used dogs that were in style. I always tell people, be a pioneer. I think I bred to Talisman. I saw Brandon at the National in Columbus. Donna Williams showed him that day. I goes, that's the dog I'm going to use on Colorful. I just knew it. The Great Divide. He did win win his dog at the National, but he was new too. So was the Prater Applause Persuasion dog. I used him too. I don't care who you are. If your dog is good, I'll breed to it. I just, be a pioneer. Don't be a follower. I can remember, now this may get me in trouble, but Dan Pierce back in the day said, Collie people are like sheep. They follow the flock. Be a pioneer. You can't achieve anything in life unless you create something. Pioneers create things. Look at all the great breeders we have, and we still have. They didn't follow the leader. They created on their own. And they should be respected for that, not the people who turn around and breed to a dog who is admired by the next national judge because they want to win. That's pathetic. Breed for dogs that inspire you, who are a part of you, your soul. Breed for you, not for the next win. There you go.
I love that. On that kind of same note, one of the questions was, why did you do the breeding that produced, Champion Sealer's Grand Applause?
Well, like I said, I'm sure, when I showed Breezy, Pam had bred her to Tartan-side heir apparent, and she had some puppies, and she told me she had puppies. She had two tri-bitches. One was Taco and one was Windy, and Taco ended up being Champion Stars midnight hour, I should say. And then I actually went and picked Dark Crystal. I don't know why, because Taco had the lighter head, Taco had the prettier eye, but intuitively I just knew that was something I wanted. I remember having a conversation with Pam, and she might not even remember this, but I did. I turned to her and I said, Pam, she said, well, which one do you like? They're both available, she said to me. And I said, I like that one because her eyes go up on the end. What the heck did I know? Basically, they were obliquely set in the skull. I guess I liked the look of it from day one. So I liked that one. And Pam just kind of looked at me and laughed. She's like, what is this kid saying? I liked how her eyes went up on the end, so I picked her. And thank God I did, because she was the foundation of this kennel. And I don't really think that Taco had much success producing. So thank God I picked Dark Crystal, And so Dark Crystal was a nice bitch. She would be real pretty in here, no depth, lip line, underjaw, pretty little stop, nice skull. She is a little bit shorter headed and a little bit more here, okay? And her eyes were a little bit more like Sudden Windfall. They were a little bit larger than I would like. And she wasn't real Cody. So I became friends with Steve Hazlitt. He had a lot of the Prater dogs. He was good friends with Steve Field. And I showed a bitch for him. I think it was called, Applause. I think it's kind of was, her name was Applause. I think it was called Applause. Her name was, oh God, I forgot what her name was, but she was a tri bitch. And that's how I became friendly with Steve Hazlitt. And I keep thinking her name was Abby, but don't quote me. That was a long time ago. And so he was, Steve was relocating. I think he ended up working for Chase Manhattan Bank down in Spring Valley, New York. And he got a job there, and he had this dog named Bart that he had. And he was very typical Parader, a little slower, maturing dog. He had tons of coat, and he had very dark eyes, very pretty eyes, actually. It wasn't until he blew all his coat out that I noticed he had neck. He had so much coat. So, and he always loved blue jeans. He thought blue jeans was beautiful. And of course, Dark Crystal was a blue jeans daughter. So I boarded Bart for a while Steve was getting situated down in New York. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to like this dog for Dark Crystal, because he had the coat and he had the dark eye, and it was a very pretty eye, actually. And I did the breeding at that point. And I think my mother at that time was breeding shepherds. She didn't show shepherds, but she had them as guard dogs, and she had a litter like once every 3 years. And so the whelping box was occupied downstairs. And my parents, my father was a pack rat, so there was like no room for anything else but one whelping area. So I couldn't, who was I? So I talked to Annette and Judy Stringer. It's Rawlings now, but her maiden name was Stringer. And I asked them if they could whelp the litter for me for a puppy. And they said, yeah, sure, And so they did. And they had this really nice tri dog in the litter. Annette just adored this tri dog. And at the time, I had a tri dog myself out of Dark Crystal, which was Motion Picture, who is the sire of your beautiful blue dog, Blake. Silver Screen. So I said, I really didn't need another tri dog. And Steve was supposed to get a puppy from the litter. That was the deal. And Steve wanted grand applause. His name was Matt, actually. Steve wanted Matt, and Annette and Judy loved Matt. So there were things I'm not going to talk about because no one wants to, But anyway, they ended up co-owning this dog together. And then Steve took Applause class of 65. He had a coloboma, so I had no use for him. I don't deal with anything with bad eye checks. I refuse to keep colobomas. So I was going to put him in a pet home. And Steve goes, I'll take him. Okay. So he ended up finishing that dog. And we had a dog named Bon Jovi, because he was a popular back then, Bon Jovi. It was champion Countryview Silver Screen. Actually, Phyllis Autry actually bought him afterwards. She finished the dog. And then there was a champion CeeLo Grand Applause from that litter. And that's how it all came about. We were quite fortunate. It was a pretty successful breeding.
Yeah. What are your most important virtues you select for, or what are the few most important qualities of a beautiful collie to you? We'll start there.
The first thing I notice in a collie is balance and curvaceousness. I love a curvy dog. The beautiful nap. I call it the crest behind the neck, the rounded muzzle, the nice deep body, the nice, chest, beautiful chest under him, beautiful curvy croup, curvy stifles. I just love curves. It's beautiful. It's symmetry. Having a curvy dog is beautiful. I look for that first. And then I look for balance. Does a length of head balance the length of back or the balance of the dog? You can't have a short head on a big dog and vice versa. It's stupid. And then, of course, right to the face. I love a beautiful face. Love it. So that's what attracts me.
Okay. So what are the Countryview dogs known for?
Well, I hope they're known for expression, good eye checks. I don't keep anything but bad eye checks. They're out of here, gone. Expression, showmanship, style, real pretty side gait. I've probably excelled more in side gait than rear. But I just love something just floating across the ground. I mean, Tonight's the Night was a dog that just floated across the floor. That was a beautiful tri dog that won the national, I think, in Louisville under Al Forthall. But he floated across the floor. I love that. Hopefully balanced style, good fronts. I do not tolerate a bad front. I despise a bad front. I like chest and I like front, beautiful neck, outward, under them. Front should be under them. That's what's important to me. Good top line.
Next question here is, what is the most important responsibility as a judge and as a breeder, in your opinion?
I think they go hand in hand. You know, it's our job as breeders to produce our interpretation of the standard, produce good ones. I think it's a judge responsibility to find them. You know, I became a judge because there was so many pretty ones that got passed over. Pretty ones. And, you know, sitting at ringside and having people go, you got robbed. I cannot believe that bitch didn't go up. You know, and I think you have to get angry and get mad and say, you know what? I want to make a difference. This is why I'm doing this, to make a difference. You know, that's how I can say. I mean, you know, yeah, it is us to produce really good dogs. It's also, I think, important for us not to breed to win. But, you know, I take that back for a minute. We all want to win. We all want to win. That's why we're doing this. We are a competitive sport. If we can even have this again, let's hopefully we stay positive and show dogs again. It's a responsibility to first breed what you love. And once you achieve your goal of what you love, then exhibit it. You know, years ago, it was all exhibiting your breeding stock. That's what it's all about. Not wanting to put another notch in my stud dog's post or another notch in my brood bitch's ROM. You know, leave the undesirables at home. Show the beautiful ones. Show people what they look like. You know, I don't know. I mean, I guess we're all guilty of showing some things just to get a little bit more numbers, but try to show your best.
I really like that answer. It's a good answer. Which stud dog you've bred has had the most impact on your breeding program and the breed, and why?
I think there are many stud dogs that were great from the breeding program. I think every generation you have the next great one, every generation, because, you know, if it wasn't for Motion Picture and Grand Applause, I wouldn't be where I am today. But if it wasn't for Secret Service and Tonight's the Night, I wouldn't be where I am today. You know what I mean? They all had their purpose. But the best thing about Motion Picture and Grand Applause, they derive from the same bitch, Stars Dark Crystal. And that was the great thing about it. They had different sires. I think Motion Picture basically had a pretty tight pedigree. They were half brother and sister combination. He was by Tart side, apparently. The other dog, Grand Applause, was, you know, of course, was the Parader side. But we were able to work back and forth a little bit. You know, it was hard. Motion Picture was sold to Japan. Roddy Oshii, he's now passed, Roddy, it's a shame. Roddy Oshii had a client in Japan who wanted to buy motion picture. And at the same time, the Grand Applause dog was around. And I think that Grand Applause was a better dog. So I say, why keep motion picture when I have Grand Applause, same mother, yada, yada, yada. So I sold the dog. And, so anyway, Pam had the knack of, actually very smart of her, I should say. She would judge out, and had assignments, and her and Louie would go out on vacation for the week, and they actually, I think they visited your kennel,
They
I
did,
think.
yeah.
And Louie came home and said, "Oh my God, I saw a beautiful blue dog by your dog." I said, "What? Who?" He goes, "Debbie Falk's dog." And I couldn't know, because at the time I sold the dog. And Roddy Oshie, I think, won under Billy, and then he finished on Billy Ashenbrough. And then I think your mom co-owned a bitch with someone, and they bred it to motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
To star.
The last litter before he went.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I'm right.
Yeah. So I never saw the dog, but Pam and Louie thought he was quite nice. And then I think I saw him. I'm trying to think. Did he go to Tom after he won the national?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2 years ago, 1 and 6, he went out with them.
Okay. In '91, I was there when Pat Starkbrother judged the national and Silver Screen had won. And then Tom got him out there. And then Louis said to me, "You really should utilize that dog, because he's not going to be here much longer." So I had a bitch, Countryview Dark, I think Dark Secret was her name, because I bred Dark Crystal back to her son, big Dark Secret, So I took that inbred bitch and bred it to Blake. And we end up getting champion Countryview admission from that. He excelled. He wasn't a great dog, but what he was, he did great things. Let's put it that way. He did great things, that dog. He was a big body dog, tons of that beautiful, that bluish black coat, which came from your dog. Your dog had beautiful silver blue. And he had a good front and a decent neck. And he had those beautiful Blake eyes, dark as can be and sparkly. And they invited you in for a cup of coffee. That kind of, that's come into my house. So he was an okay dog. And then I leased a bitch from Pam, Stars Blue Topaz. And I think her dam went back to motion picture, actually. And that breeding created, Pam let me lease the bitch. And 2 bitches came from that litter. One named Sadie and one named Polly. And we kept both. Pam didn't feel right taking one when there was only 2 to look at. So she says, "Look, give me a puppy later on." So we said, okay. So we took the 2 bitches. Sadie became champion Countryview Colorful from that litter. And of course, she had that beautiful silver blue from Blake and those beautiful, dreamy, dark, sparkly eyes that I loved. She had the beautiful neck, the beautiful front, level top line, tail just like Blake, right off the body like a rudder. It was gorgeous. Beautiful side gate that bitch had. And am I getting him off the question?
Keep going.
And so basically, Blake had a big influence on the next generation of Countryview. Sometimes you do breedings, and I think Ron Keller, again, the world is your mentor. Ron Keller said, sometimes you don't get what you want from the first breeding, but they give you what you want from the second breeding. And I definitely got that from that breeding. Now, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
The question was, which stud dog you've bred has had the most impact on your breeding program and the breed, and why?
Well, there we are. Grand Applause. I took an inbred Grand Applause with Dark Crystal back to motion picture of Blake's son. And then it started. So I guess I answered it, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
That was great stories. I love hearing that. So bringing it to the present, what do you think the breed is lacking today, and what do you think the strengths are?
I'm just going to say it. I mean, all of us have sat at the National or any show, and we have slammed around the same thing over and over and over again. We just can't find anything to breed to anymore. I think we have lack of numbers, breeders, lack of numbers. It's easier to finish dogs now than it used to be. We have a quarter of what the entries used to be. And I do think we lack sometimes, you know, when I first started in dogs, these judges emerged from these gigantic kennels. They had it going on. They knew the dogs. It's harder now because we have people who, I'm going to be hated, but you know, I don't really care at this point. We have people who finish 5, maybe 6 dogs, boom, they go for their license. They ask people to piggyback on them. Please, can I breed a litter with you to get my license? What a line. You know, and they're judging entries today. You know, I really feel that and we do this for our national, I think every person, or every judge, I should say, should critique after they have picked these dogs. Because people say, what the heck are you doing? What happened? That guy's an idiot. You know, if you were put on the spot, maybe you would judge better. Maybe you would see what's important in the breed. Maybe you should judge dogs for what's lacking today in the breed. John told me a story, and it has always sat in my head. I think he told me a story. He showed a Clarion dog. I think it was Clarion, oh boy, All Night Long. And he showed it to Steve Field. Now, John may correct me in his bedtime story coming up, but I remember John saying to me he was amazed that Steve Field put up that dog. And Steve told him that dog had beautiful eyes and the breed is lacking them. And that's why I rewarded this dog. And I think every judge should be rewarding a dog that excels in a virtue that the breed is lacking. Because once we lose it, bye, you won't get it back. You know, a lot of them now, I'm gonna go on a little tangent here, so I apologize. You know, it seems like judges today are judging dogs as if they were sitting at ringside. All about this, all about this. You know, and they go, well, we are a head breed. Do you realize that a foreface is also part of the head? You know what I mean? You know, and to get correct expression, I know all this because we just did the seminar for Judges Ed, is flat skull, raised eyebrows, slight stop, rounded muzzle, chiseled foreface. Look how many virtues you have to get, or how many facets in the collie head to get expression. That's part of the head, you know? And what I find people are doing are breeding for profiles. And we did this a lot when we did judges. We actually took profiles of dogs. We took rulers, placed it on the black nose, and laid it on top of the muzzle. Let me tell you something. There was no stop. That ruler went right across and it met the eyebrow. The inside corner of the eye is the center of a well-placed stop. I guess they don't know that. You know, and it directly affects the rounded muzzle, the correct stop. The standard says this. Slight stop. There's no stop. The eyebrow is the stop. So, you know, breeding for a head, you're really not. You're fooling yourself. It's not part of what the standard's calling for. And I want breeders, good breeders, to become good judges. I want them to appreciate. I mean, I give a lot of accolades for your mother. she's been breeding for longer than I have. And she finally thank God, she finally got her license, you know. And Debbie started off in the time where a front was good, expression mattered, you know, and it's nice to see someone who looks for that. It's actually refreshing, you know. Did I get off again? Sorry.
No.
Everyone, I just really feel passionate about these things.
Yeah, well, it's good to hear it, and I think it's good for people to hear it too. On the other side, what do you think the strengths are in the breed today?
We have a lot of good underjaw. We are pretty clean cut under here. We see a lot of dogs who show. We were getting better on coming and going, but that has not happened. I've seen a lot of issues where dogs can't single track anymore. You know, for a while the rears weren't so good, but the fronts were coming in okay. Not so much anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, I even put this in, you know, my critique in Virginia Beach. I think I saw 3 dogs who single tracked. And I probably saw 5 to 10% that couldn't single track in front coming in. And that, you never saw that before. You saw maybe a little narrow coming in, a little easty-westy, a little, you know, padding a little bit. But when they move like this, what is this, a golden? You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on. And they're winning. That's the scary part about it. Judges are putting them up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not tooting my horn. I'm just telling you, if we keep this up, what direction is our breed going? It beats me.
Yeah.
We are lacking, our upper arms are so short that the paws don't go past the throat when they're moving. And it's scary. Where are we going to find dogs to correct this when the majority of dogs are like this? You know, I'm not attacking anybody. These are conversations that we have had hundreds of times at dog shows. We've all talked about it. So don't act like you don't know. We all talked about it, you know. Next question.
Next question. What do you think makes a great breeder?
A person who never gives up. I always thought the biggest demise of a great breeder is their ego. It's funny, they start off with great intentions. They do winning, and all of a sudden an ego starts to form. And an ego is a negative force. It stops you from achieving great things. I won't do this breeding because people will think less of it. It's beneath me to breed to this dog because it's not owned by a well-known person. You're breeding to a dog, not the person. You know, a great breeder is one who loves the breed, who is passionate about the breed, who wants to see the breed go in the right direction. You know, I mean, there are still times when I judge dog shows and my eyes tear up because I just love this. You know, it's brought the passion back into me. Because sometimes you come home from a dog show, I'm sure your mom will tell you this, come home from a dog show and you go, oh my God, I didn't see anything I loved. You know, I remember I judged a show and I bred to a dog that I bred to. And I talked to Bob Futh. And I said, Bob, I just put up a dog that you put up the other day. And he goes, well, I hope you bred to him. And I said, I did. I did bring to him. You know, when you see great things, just breed to it. It's wonderful. Don't let your ego ruin you because it will ruin you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, try new things. It makes you look so smart when you try new things and great things will come of it. Don't be stuck in this little thing. Well, I'm not going to leave my family, blah, blah, blah. You know, people who have, believe me, I have won nationals many times with outcrosses. It helped. It works. I did it a couple of times. It works. Stop staying in a little box because you can't go anywhere. You know? Did I get off the question again? I'm sorry.
No, that's great. What are 3 main components of a great stud dog and a great brood bitch that set them apart as producers?
Well, for one thing, they have to produce. Produce consistent type. I can remember Pam mentioned in her bedtime stories that she bred to Cardoza and Windfall because she liked what he produced. Mm-hmm. So you have to like what they do. I think consistence, they stand. I mean, I bred to Brandon because he consistently produced a nice profile, nice lip line, no depth. And I bred to him before, I think for anyone else, he was a new dog. Everyone loved him, but I just bred to him. And he produced great. I mean, come on now. Brandon's one of the biggest dogs, big producers in our breed. But I found things in him that I felt the breed was lacking, and that's why I bred to him. I also bred to, Twin Cities Great Divide because he had a nice headpiece. Certain dogs you breed to because of certain things. I think up and foremost, they must have expression. They must have muzzle. They must look like a stud dog. I mean, years ago, I did this little seminar for breeders in California, and they still talk about it. You don't breed to a drag queen. Basically, you don't breed to a female impersonator, meaning a bitchy dog. You don't want to breed to a bitchy dog. Mm-hmm. Where are you gonna? He's not going to give you the nice turn of muzzle, refined bone. He's too tiny. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, bitches, what makes a great bitch? I think what makes a great bitch is what they produce, really. I mean, Colorful and Dark Crystal were very dominant producers. They all had neck, and they all had good top lines, and they had style. They had presence, and they all did well. No matter what stud dog Dark Crystal was bred to, you could tell that was a Dark Crystal kid. Just how she stood there. It was very star looking, and I always found that a great virtue, for someone to say, boy, they can tell that's a star dog. Because I always found that was something that I liked, because it was kind of, the star dogs were basically my mentor. I liked them, not because they won, because they just had a certain presence and they had style and they reeked of strength. They weren't frail. They were dogs that could compete at the all breeds, and they did very well, and specialty shows. And I think those are dogs that you need to have in your kennel.
Mm-hmm. Next question here is, what was the most exciting moment for you in our breed, whether that be as a breeder or a handler?
I think the proudest time I ever was watching Philo Grand Applause float down the mat in '92 in Tampa under Billy Ashenberg. And I don't know why. Probably because I love Annette. She's like my sister. I would do anything for her because that's how much I love Annette. But that doesn't mean I don't argue with her. But it's so wonderful to see someone that you love, and it's wonderful to see something that you bred and they had done well with it. And also recognized by Billy Ashenberg. Like I said, back to what I said, to win under someone that you put on a pedestal is the most greatest thing It's the most greatest thing to do is to win under a judge that you love, that you admired, and they just glow. And when Billy walked in the ring, you knew what Billy was going to do. He was going to find something that was really sensational. And to have him christen something that I bred was unbelievable. You know, because, you know, I've done well at the National before, but it's different when you watch something that you bred because you're in real time. It's like surreal. I'm sure you did it too, because you did it with Coldplay. It means more when you watch it on video. When, oh my God, you know, when you're in the ring, you're nervous, you're not really taking it all in, but watching it on video, it's almost surreal because you know it's coming. You know it's coming when he points, and he's like, oh my God, like you relive it, and you're like crying your eyes out, you know. So that was the best thing. Grand Applause won in Tampa.
Okay. How has your vision changed over the years?
It hasn't. I still like the same thing I did when I had Doc Crystal. Did I know a lot more back then? Nope. I didn't know anything back then. But I know a lot more now. You know, I know finer details, which I didn't know back then. But I think it's just the overall look that I'm always drawn to. You know, I go, oh my God, who was that? You know, I go, oh, you know, I flick, you know, I have to see the face. It's just like they have this magic around them. These beautiful ones have this magic, you know, and you're going, oh my God, please have a pretty face. Please have a pretty face. Because you just love everything else about them, you know? Yeah.
Did you know at the time you first saw her that Breezy was going to make history as a show dog and a brood bitch?
Nope. Not at all. I can remember that day we were grooming her, and Terry Parker was showing, I think it was Champion Meadows Baby Blue BG she was showing, California. And I think that was the scuttlebutt that Terry was going to go up, you know. And I remember Pam and I were standing at the grooming table, and we were grooming Breezy, and she walked by, and she went, who is that? She said to us. And Pam goes, this is Stas Blue Jeans, you know, in Pam's New England accent. You know, Breezy, she'd say. And she goes, oh my God, Billy's going to love her. That's when I think, wow, I could have a chance. You know, I had no idea. Mm-hmm. I remember it was a fun day. I don't remember Pam telling me I strung her up. I guess I didn't want to remember that because, you know, I was doing something wrong. But I remember going in the ring, and it was a fun show. The applause was like deafening. It was like, you know, you don't see that anymore either. You don't see anyone joining in and really, you know, giving their approval on the dog. You don't see that much anymore. I remember going in the ring with her, and she always showed beautifully. She just showed so nicely. And I remember going in with, it was Steve who had a blue dog, I think Carthway's the Great Pretender. And I was like going, oh my God, I'm standing next to the person who mentored me how to groom. Who am I? You know, I just like, you know, but Breezy just showed like crazy, and Billy had to take her around, and he picked her. And I really didn't even grasp what it meant to even win the National. I was 16 years old. I didn't know. It was a show. It was my first show. I mean, first national anyway, dog shows. And I remember coming out of the ring, and tears were coming from my eyes. I was crying because I watched my mother crying. Isn't that weird? You don't want to see your parents cry.
Yeah.
And I remember Pam going, ah! You know, Pam does her, ah! She was screaming. And I remember looking to the left, and Louis was like skipping down the lawn at ringside. Yippee! He was like, I don't know, like he won the World Series. He was like skipping and snapping his feet up, and he was like, oh my God. Yeah, and that was the greatest moment of my life, I think. besides grand applause, but I mean, something I didn't even know. And then I started bawling. I'm always bawling to this. When I think Ted Paul asked me, was I a CCFA member? Because I couldn't get the trophy back then. I went, oh my God, I'm a reject. I didn't. I just started crying. I felt so bad. I'm so sorry. Pam goes, I'm a member. And she kind of pushed me aside. She went to sign for the thing. It was really a fun time. It was really fun. I remember Pam would go, come over. I got the video. I think Judy Bryant did it back then. I got the video. Come over. We'll have we'll eat and have fun. So we went over to that, and they had a big, gigantic family room. It was it was a gorgeous house. It was a beautiful house. And I remember we sat there, and Pam had a bigger screen TV. It wasn't a flat screen like it is today. And we watched her win. We were like bawling like it was like the day she had won. It was like so amazing, and those are great times. Those are really great times. That I'll always remember.
Yeah. Great story.
Yeah.
Really great. If you could go back in time, would you bring back one dog to take back to a current one? If yes, who and for what virtues?
Do I have to own the dog, or is it some other dog?
I think whatever you want.
I probably, if it was my own dog, I probably would use Tonight's the Night again. He had testicular cancer and had to be neutered, I think, at 4 years old. So that dog wasn't utilized. It was very nice to see that his daughter had won the national. Keep it a secret. That's another beautiful bitch too. It was a beautiful bitch. I wish I could have utilized that dog more, because he had things that I would want back in my kennel. He had bone and coat and movement and tail set and croup. He had some really nice things that, back, and probably give my regards. I never froze the dog. I've always felt that, we every generation we usually breed a better dog. Let's hope we do, right? Going backwards is not so fun. But I always felt going back to frozen would be going back after you fixed things that you had from that dog, So I think I would probably, if it wasn't my own dog, it would have been the Critics' Choice. I always loved the muzzle, the eye set that he stamped on a lot of his things. I think with Critics' Choice, I would have bred back to. I think Camouflage. He was colorful in Bronze Talisman. I usually don't keep a lot of numbers, and many people have much more success than I do with my stud dogs. And it's something that I need to really correct, because, the way things are going in the world. And Debbie had some beautiful things by that dog. And then we lost him. Karen Van Wickler, my friend Karen Van Wickler in Delaware. I was going to sell him. I didn't like his rear, and I was going to sell him. And Karen goes, don't sell that dog. I think there's something special about him. And then we lost him after, right afterwards. So she had bred the dog, which was when she owned him, she bred the dog. And came out of that was Resed's, I think her name was Countryview Resed Gratitude. She was a beautiful blue bitch. She was a beautiful, and that ended up being the dam of Give My Regards. Her name was Prish. She's beautiful, light head, nice skull, beautiful neck. She was a really pretty bitch. But we had problems getting puppies out of her. And like I said, I really think to be successful now, it takes a village. If it wasn't for Steve Barger, yes, now to Debbie Holland. because Debbie, I talked to Tim Bowder, who co-owned Give My Regards, but before then, we had problems with this bitch. She'd have puppies, but puppies they just die. And she said, you know what? She told Tim, tell Danny to put her on, Baytril and put her on a Moxie. And I did that. And she saved the whole litter. And that's where Give My Regards came from that litter. So thank you, Debbie Holland, for that great advice that she got from Dr. Hutch, actually. And that was the only litter we ever got out of. No, we bred her again. We did it again. We bred her to Camlock Night to Remember, and we got some pretty things from that too. But that was the litter that really she produced nicely, and that was the only thing I got from Camouflage, which is it's pretty sad. So I guess I need to learn to do puppies back because what are you gonna do, right? I keep 6 dogs. I don't keep a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
But have.
So we're at our last question.
Oh, okay.
What goals do you have for the future? What is one accomplishment, if any, that you haven't reached yet or still hope to achieve?
I always feel the room for improvement in anything. I'm never satisfied. I always want things to be better. I mean, I always go outside and hate everything in my kennel. I hate you, out of here. I'm never satisfied. I always want something more. But I'm very grateful for what I have, don't get me wrong. I think I like to improve the Judges Ed program a little bit more. I think I want to redo the Eyes Have It seminar. I think we can touch more people with animation and how the muzzle comes in too far and affects the eyes and spreads it apart. I really want to find someone who does animation, but I can't find anyone to do it, so I guess we'll have to wait for a while. What else is next? I think the only thing that I've never done, I mean, I've gotten best variety rough at the National, but I never bred, owned, and handled a best of breed dog at the National. Every other thing that I've done has done well at the National, but I always wanted to, own it also and handle it and breed it. So maybe there's great things to come. Who knows, right? Yeah. But there was one more question I saw in here. I want to say. Do I have any time? I'm an hour and a half, aren't I?
We still have time. We're
Okay.
at an hour, but we still have some time.
Okay, we had a question on here about, because exciting time in the breed. Yeah, I think what was the most exciting time or a moment in the breed as a breeder or a judge? I think the most gratifying, Breezy was fun. But I think my heart was more into clients' dogs that I started off and then finished, and that was Star's Uptown Girl. And she got winner's bidge at the Centennial Show under Bill Broken. And that was a really pretty bitch. She was sound, everything that I love. Chest and neck, outline, beautiful tail, pretty eye. And she kept getting the shaft. And we showed her. We got a major on a Doris Werderman as a puppy, I believe. And Doris did love good legs. And she was very sound. And we got all the minor points on it. We couldn't get that last major. And we showed her at the National. And Bill Broken, finally someone found the bitch. And Bill Broken found her. And he said, she reminded him of Fancy Pants, one of his bitches, Fancy Pants. And I shouldn't have ever done this as a handler, but I loved her as my own, even though I didn't own her. And when he pointed to her, I picked her up in my hands because I loved her so much. And I ran over the first place, and that freaked her out. I guess it would have. And I looked up, and there was Pam, John, David, and Louie all crying. And John came up to me, he goes, "You don't know how much I appreciate it." His heir apparent just died, and she was sired by heir apparent out of Doc Crystal. And that made me cry even more. You know, it's like you just, when you have those favorite ones and they, you know, and their daughter, they just passed and their daughter just won. I could see why John and David were very emotional, because I would have been emotional at that point. And I'm glad I didn't know until afterwards about that. So I guess I'll leave it as that. I really appreciate you asking me to do this interview. By any means, I was not trying to be negative. I just love this breed and I want it to succeed. And I want great things to happen for our breed. And I want great breeders and I want great judges to appreciate what all these great breeders bring to them. And that's all. So I thank you so much for the interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. It was really a great interview and I loved a lot of the stories. So I'm sure everybody will too. And thank you.
Thank you.